You're at the John Muir Trail Permits Explained workshop, and what you're going to learn is basically what your options are. There are a lot, when they become available, and Quentin, this was a surprise to you, but you'll learn everything you need to know about that, the how, and then also a couple tips as to how to be one of the lucky ones, because it can be, really competitive. Okay, so your options are, there's the Yosemite National Park lottery, the Mount Whitney lottery, and then Inyo National Forest has permits that open not on a lottery system, and we'll get there. There's a lot of trailheads. That's what, save for these two, these are Yosemite. All of these are Inyo National Forest permit trailheads. And then here's the Mount Whitney portal. Okay, so we'll start with Yosemite. It runs, the lottery runs a week at a time, and it's 24 weeks in advance. So for example, and I'm gonna switch tabs real quick here. For example, oops, I meant to switch this to the other calendar. Right now, this week, the lottery is running for the start dates of July 23rd through the 29th. And then next week, this week-long lottery is for the start dates of July 30th to August 5th. So that's 24 weeks from now. Let me get back to that presentation. Sorry about that. So that's what I mean, 24 weeks in advance. There's just two trailheads. There is Happy Isles and Lyle Canyon, and you need to specify that they go over Donahue Pass. There are options that don't go over Donahue Pass, and it's very clear. It says Donahue Pass eligible, and they are competitive. So here's an example of how that lottery runs. So today is Wednesday. It really doesn't matter which day that you apply. It's the whole week. And then Monday you should get your notification that you got it or you didn't. You'll have a deadline that is specified in that email. I believe that it is Thursday. And then something really good to know, and this will be useful, I believe it was you, Quentin, who you thought maybe you missed your chance. Anything that wasn't claimed is going to be released in a not lottery manner, in a get your permit and you have it kind of manner on the Friday at 9 a.m. So we'll kind of go over how to try to get those when we talk about the pro tips. All right, so with the Yosemite National Park, you do get them on recreation.gov. All of the permits for the John Muir Trail are on recreation.gov, and I do have a tutorial, and I'll make sure all of this is included on the, like, a summary. Gotta find a better way to switch between these screens. So that's going to take you step by step so that you know that you're doing it exactly right.
Hey, Aaron.
Yeah.
When I was going online, it seemed like the whole series of dates had a W on it. Like you can just go in for a walk-on, like almost as if the permit or the lottery process wasn't necessary. And that's how I got into backcountry last time, which I think was last year. I did 5 days up between Devil's Postpile and Thousand Island Lake. And I just got a permit. Well, no, actually, I was 2 weeks before, but still, when it says W,
right.
Can't you just go
sometimes it does say L before that. And I think what that is, so 60% of the permits are lottery, and a solid 40 are what they call walk up, and that actually has varied in recent years, and it says right now that they have not decided how it's going to be done, but walk up sometimes means, or at least more recently it's meant 2 weeks in advance but online, so it doesn't literally have to be a walk up. So I'm waiting to hear what they decide, because it is still TBA, but you're right, there's 40% that are reserved for walk up, which may or may not be literally walking up. So if you have that flexibility, I haven't had that flexibility in the past, but I've heard like general success if you have like a day or two to wake up at like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. and go stand outside of the wilderness permit office. I've heard that as like I have a hard time taking that kind of chance when you put so much, all the things you put in line to like make a trip like this happen, but that is a possibility. But I think maybe an even better option will be that try to scoop one up on that Friday when something is released. I don't know how many things go unclaimed, but that is a way to scoop something up otherwise.
Thanks.
Yeah. And then moving on to Mount Whitney. Mount Whitney is also runs on a lottery. It's currently open. It's open for this entire month. I believe it closes at midnight on March 1st. But I just wouldn't cut it close because it seems like a funny day to end. I would think it would end on February 28th. Anyways, get your permit application in before then. And then you do need to wait all the way until the 15th to see if you get, or if you're awarded that permit. It's very competitive. I think a pretty small percentage, I think less than 15% get awarded. I'm not sure about that number, but it's competitive for sure. I didn't make an application tutorial, but there is a tutorial that I have linked and we'll have in the summary. The reservation site is summarized on there, and I'll send that link as well. Trying to think of what else there is to say about the Mount Whitney portal, but about the permit. You do need to make sure you specify it's called overnight. There's one that just says Mount Whitney Trail, and then there's Mount Whitney Trail overnight. You will see that in the tutorial. It is a pretty intense place to start, so make sure you do your homework on what that elevation gain is going to look like, and think about acclimatizing to the elevation, especially. So I live at sea level, so I would definitely need to do more of that than somebody who lives high up in Colorado somewhere. So that's all I can think of to say about Mount Whitney right now. Maybe come back to that. And then Inyo National Forest. So that was all those other trailheads that we saw in between the top and bottom terminus. They're available exactly 6 months in advance, and that doesn't mean 365 days divided by 2. The way they do it is by the number and the month. So today is February 8th. Add 6 months to that and keep the same number. That equals August 8th. So put that across the board. Tomorrow, August 9th will be released, and so on. There's a lot of options. They definitely vary in like their intensity of like the hike to the John Muir Trail junction. Some are half a mile, some are literally 20 miles. So I did create a summary of all of that. It is called the Ultimate Trailhead Database, and it's got things to help you with your reservations, like the government ID, the amount of permits that are available in advance, and then these as well release, I believe it's 40% 2 weeks in advance. So if you're planning a little later, we've got maps, we've got where you are intersecting the John Muir Trail, tutorials again, and here's kind of that information about that hike in. So there's a lot of information here. There's the distance your elevation at your trailhead, and if you go over a pass, what that elevation is, and a couple more things about just the Google location. And if you can't park there, I've got some shuttle information for places like Mammoth specifically. I think it all is in Mammoth.
Is this on your website?
This is available on our website. This is a paid resource. It's only $5. And yeah, it's got a ton of information in here. So this will be linked as well. All right. Keep having to go out of this. Okay, let's see. The application tutorial, like I said, I've got that. The summary of trailhead options, that's what I was talking about, the database. There is also I have a map. This is a free resource. Let's wait for it to get pulled up. And this does have some of the information that was on that database. It's got, let's see, it has the elevation. I think it has the mile where you meet let's look at one of them. So for example, Duck Pass Trailhead. We have the elevation of the trailhead, elevation of the pass, elevation of the JMT junction, how far to get there, how to apply for a permit. So that goes for all of these down here. This is available for free. Everything will be linked. Okay, so as for the pro tips, these are just from my own experience. There's nothing magical about them. They're not going to guarantee you anything, but it's some things that will help you. And maybe you can't do all of them. The first one is be as flexible as humanly possible. Maybe you have your heart set on a certain direction. Maybe just be a little flexible with that. It's an amazing trail, no matter where you start, no matter how much you cover. So being flexible, first of all, is going to help you more likely to get a permit, because then you can make more plans, like plan A, B, C, and D. And I do have a little worksheet for that for some people who are more hands-on and need to like get it down. This is part of another free resource that I have that people who are more visual, it's similar information that has to do with the different trailheads just in a PDF form. And part of it is that permit plan worksheet. So you can set alarms for yourself and just be ready. So that is part of the be flexible, is to have those different plans in place. Something that can help you with this, and this is another plug. What we're looking at here is a digital calendar that is available for purchase. So instead of having to set those alarms yourself or try and do the calculations of like, okay, what is exactly 6 months from now? And when is 24 weeks from now? And stuff like that, that is all already in here. So this week, we have the Whitney lottery that's open, that's running. We can see what is available for Yosemite. And in here, it's got the details and directions, video tutorial. So you can have this in your calendar, and it's a lot. So of course you can check and uncheck it. And then let's see. So this alternate itineraries is kind of what the name that I've given to all those other trailheads, because you can do portions of the trail or piece it together if you really want to do the whole thing. And so we've got a bunch of those different passes listed there. And then northbound is the same governing agency. It's still Inyo National Forest, but it's even farther than the southernmost point of the trail. So if you're doing the John Muir Trail, you're only going to be going north from Cottonwood Meadows, or Horseshoe Meadows. There's Cottonwood Pass and Cottonwood Lakes. So this is a place where you have it all in one spot and you don't have to worry about missing a particular date. Okay.
Did you do all this data entry yourself?
I did.
Wow.
The John Muir Trail Guru at your service. So part of that, set reminders, right? You can do that yourself, or you can get help with that from the calendar that I just showed on. And then log on early. This seems like intuitive, but I have a friend who goes to Burning Man every year, and I just go, how do you do that? And she just says, click, 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 click. So it's like a competition. And so I will show you, just for example, like let's say it is 6:45 and I'm getting ready to apply for one of the Inyo National Forest permit trailheads. Let's say I want to go from, you should probably actually have a couple that you're trying to get, but let's say I want to go to Shadow Creek because it's a short hiking distance and it's in the Mammoth area and I want to start in Mammoth. So what I would do is ahead of time, I would log on. If it's really important that you get that day, see if you can teach somebody else how to do this and have them sitting next to you. And then if one of you gets it in your cart, then buy it on that computer. You don't need, don't get more than you need, but once it's in your cart, you have it. So explore available permits, not a commercial guided trip. Okay. And then if you're heading south and you plan to exit over Mount Whitney, you need to specify that. Anywhere else, you can just put overnight. This is not going to change your chances or anything like that. So just put what you want. Also, if you're unsure how many people are going in your group, the lower, the more likely you will be able to get your permit. This goes for the lotteries as well. So it's nice to hope that certain people will come, but see what people can really commit to. So let's say you're going in a pair, and 6 months from now is August. So we can see is August 8th. So we can see that only walk-ups are left, which are not available yet. But what I would do is I would be here. So let's say it was 6:45 a.m. tomorrow, and I'm waiting for this one to open up. So you don't need to go into these, because when you refresh, you're going to have to be ready to put this in again. So be like, okay, I'm going to do overnight exiting Mount Whitney on the 9th, and there's 2 of us, because once it hits 7 a.m. or maybe it's 9 a.m. because you're getting some leftover permits or hoping to get those, then you are going to want to refresh right away, and it's going to take you back to here. So don't let this throw you off. You're going to have to do everything again. Keep your cool, and you're going to have to jump ahead 6 months and everything. Go to your exact day. And then it should show a number. And you'll click, and you'll want to know what you're looking for. I think I said Shadow Creek. So Shadow Creek is down here, and I would click on that number. And then it would say add to cart or book now. So, and then once you're there and it's in your cart, you have a little countdown, like they're safe. Then you have time to put in your details. So that is the way I've gotten many permits. It's also a way that I failed to get them, but that's a good way that has worked for me. So yeah, knowing those special release days. There's also a special release day for the Whitney permits. They go live, and that's also in the calendar. So having the calendar is helpful to have these things. Let's see. Deadline to accept, and then on the 22nd of April is kind of that like moment where they're all the unclaimed ones are going to go live at 7 a.m. So you're going to do that refresh if that's important to you to go from Mount Whitney. And I believe we have covered everything. Ways to stay connected with me. I share a lot of stuff about permits right now because it's permit season. You know, some people have them, some people don't. But I'm moving toward resupply resources and resupply services, which is another big piece of your trip. And then there's also other things that I will be having lots of stuff on, like training, you know, inspiration, the logistics of getting there, especially if you're an international traveler, all kinds of stuff. I've got something called Backpacker Boost, which is basically just one-on-one planning together. And that's available now if you just need to pick the brain of somebody who knows about this stuff and you're kind of getting lost in the Google searches. I'm available for that. And then I have a newsletter that is kind of the first place that I release all these things. And it goes out once a week unless there's something like really exciting. There might be an extra one sent out in there. That is all. I'd like to open it up to any questions.